So this is what now we come on to the pavilion. This is what the St. Lawrence ground looked about 1905. In those days, the pavilion was built in 1890, I think it was, and the telegraph stand here was basically a wooden structure that was put up basically to house the players and to house the scorers at the time. And it was knocked down to put up the Woolly stand in 1927. The pavilion, sorry, was built in 1900. Total cost was £2,881, 10 shillings and 1 penny. I'm not quite sure what the 1 penny was spent on, but anyway, that's how it worked. And that pavilion is seen here again there. Next to it, the annex stand was built, which is now called the Not Underwood stand. The annex was built in 1907, I think. I'm talking off the top of my head here, and I haven't remembered the exact date, for which I apologize. But it was 1908. Yes, it was 1908 it was built. The pavilion, which we now look inside of, was built originally in 1900, and it was extensively refurbished in the early 70s, thanks to the generosity of Stuart Cheeseman, who had been chairman of the club and had been president as well, and was Colin Cowdrey's father-in-law, and therefore Graham and Chris Cowdrey's grandfather. And he was the one who who gave the money basically to refurbish the pavilion. So it's still called the Cheeseman Pavilion. Now it's used for events like this. It's actually not very satisfactory for watching cricket from. Down below, upstairs is much better. There's a very good viewing position from upstairs. But the ground floor, which is here, is used more for entertaining and things like that than anything else. Next to it, if we miss out the changing rooms, which are here, the changing rooms were built onto the pavilion. The home team has the lower level, and the away team with a smaller balcony has the top level. The annex here was built in 1908, and that was built as an extra stand. And that again was when the ground was redeveloped with Freeman House and various other bits and pieces going on. The annex was renamed the Underwood Not stand. It's not the Not Underwood stand, it's the Underwood Not stand. That contains the press box and the scorer's position. And it is a very popular viewing site for members of the ground to watch from there. Partly because it's next door to sorry, I've gone backwards. Next door to the pub and the cafe. Derek Underwood needs no introduction. He, up there with Colin Blythe as probably the greatest left arm spinner, although he was rather faster than most spinners in Kent history. Lovely, lovely gentleman, sadly not very well at the moment, but we expect, I mean, he is always will be remembered as one of Kent's greats. And he shares the name with Alan Knott. Together they were a pair that were just as good as Freeman and Ames as dismissing batsmen. 134 batsmen over the years were caught not bowled Underwood. Another 64 stumped not bowled Underwood, and that's just in playing for Kent. I don't know how many more there were playing for England or playing against England who had the same problem. Alan Knott, a wonderful wicketkeeper, quite, in my view, the best of all of Kent's great wicketkeepers, and always looked incredibly scruffy on the field, but was a brilliant, brilliant wicketkeeper and also a pugnacious batsman. He was I mean, he still is a lively gentleman, and he now lives in Cyprus and comes over to England occasionally, and always comes to the Kent Ground when he does, and is a very crucial part of the great Kent side of the 1970s, which really swept everything before it. Then we get back to where we started. We're pleased to hear. This is the Oriole Cafe, very popular, very successful. Actually, the warmest part of the ground. If you go there, it's a real sun trap on a sunny day to be sitting outside there, having a cup of coffee or just reminiscing over the days long gone by. Next to it, to its right in this picture, are the club offices. And these are recent. Both these buildings are recently built when we redeveloped the ground. And of course, in the club offices round the corner is also a Sainsbury's. I strongly recommend when you've finished your tour that you go to the Oriole for a cup of coffee. It's always a very enjoyable thing to do. And the other thing I should say, this picture points out a little bit, is the slope on the ground. A lot of people don't quite realize this, but the ground by the right down here by the, we're back now by the Kennedy Gates and that part of the ground are about 9 foot lower than the playing surface, or most of the playing surface, and or the far end of the ground. There is a slope of about 9 foot from one side of the ground to the other, which is a bigger slope than the famous slope at Lord's, which is only 8'6" or something. So players take some time to get used to it, especially bowlers, we find. So that's it, basically. I thank you for listening. If you want to learn more about Canterbury in particular, then I strongly recommend this book by Howard Milton and Peter Francis, Kent County Cricket Grounds. It's got a lot about Canterbury and indeed all the grounds. And I should thank both of them for allowing me to use some of their photographs in this presentation. And of course, there are ground tours that we give every year during the summer season. So if you want to have a conducted tour of the ground, then you can get tickets from the Kent County Cricket website. And that's it. If anybody has any questions they want to ask me, then fire away. Please do. I'll try and answer.
Well, sir, thank you very much indeed for the tour de force there around the ground. I'm sure that everyone knows that cricket is a sport with some fantastic traditions that you're very proud of. So it's lovely to see the modern and the old represented there. Jonathan Rice, thank you very much indeed. So if anyone has any questions for the speaker, please use the chat bar. And we have one, a couple of questions coming in. First of all, who bought the 1906 painting, the one that you showed us in the slide? Was it Lord's?
No, it wasn't. It was bought by a charity, the Andrew Brownsword Foundation. Andrew Brownsword is a self-made, very rich man who was actually educated at Folkestone Grammar School, so is a local boy, so to speak, and his charity buys paintings that it feels should not be let out of the country or anything like that, and which need to be kept on public display. So what he did with it, having bought it, he then immediately gave it on long-term loan back to MCC. So it's now to be seen at Lord's. Last time I saw it, it was just outside the long room, hanging there. They do switch around their paintings quite a lot, so I can't say it's necessarily there now, but it's owned by the Andrew Brownsword Foundation and it is on display at Lord's.
Oh, I see. Yes. So it's at the Lord's ground, but it's not owned by them.
No, it's not owned by them. They've got it on permanent loan.
Understood. Thank you for that. We have a second question, Hugh. Have you heard of Kent Coventry cricket?
Kent Commentary cricket?
Coventry.
Oh, Coventry? No, I don't think so. Coventry is not in Kent, as far as I'm aware. No, I don't know. What is it?
I've no idea, sir.
Oh,
Hugh?
well,
Are you there, Hugh? Perhaps you could elaborate.
Yes, there is a book called The History of Kent Coventry Cricket.
oh, well, I don't know it at all. Coventry, as in the place Coventry.
As in the place, yes. It has all of the batting statistics from sort of the very early days and lots of history, plates of W.G. Grace and so on.
Well, I don't know that. I'm the person who probably would, who is I'm sure listening at the moment, is Howard Milton, and he might know of it, but it's not a book that I've come across at all. I'm afraid I don't know it.
I had 3 family members who all played cricket for Kent at Canterbury at the same time. The South Nortons.
Ah, yes. Mm-hmm.
And it's a book handed down through the family, through the eldest sons of the family.
Well, the South Nortons were very crucial in the setting up of the Kent County Cricket Club in the 1860s, 1870s. So they're a very well known family to Kent cricket historians. But I'm afraid I don't know that book about Kent Coventry cricket.
Okay, thank you, Hugh. It's always something new to follow up.
Yeah,
Honestly, that's what we're all about. Hugh, thank you. In the 1906 painting, I can only see 10 Kent players. Am I missing the 11th?
Well, no, you aren't missing the 11th. Let me just go and have a look at my copy of it and see where they all are. Hold on, you will see my backside for a minute here.
That's quite right, sir.
We've got this is Punter Humphreys. This is Ted Dillon right on the boundary here. Colin Blythe. Then we've got Johnny. That's Johnny Tildersley there. We've got Blaker. We've got Hewish. We've got Hutchings. We've got Marsham the captain. We've got Arthur Fielder there. We've got Mason here. We've got Pinky Burnup here, and we've got James Seymour, who's only half in the picture right at the end. And that should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes, it is. There are 11 in there. So yeah, there are 11, but James Seymour is right on the edge, and it may be that one that you're missing.
Okay, thank you. The fact that you could name them all off the top of your head suggests that you're telling us the truth. So,
well, I wasn't off the top of my head. The names are printed on the underneath the painting. The names are put in as well. So, but there are definitely 11 there.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, the speaker is vouching that there are 11 there. Thank you. Fascinating talk. Thank you, says Stuart. Thank you, sir, for that. I think we would all agree. Ian, again, thank you to Ian for facilitating the meetings on Zoom for us so that we can all stay at home and listen in. Ian says, I think I heard that the cricket ground was to be used as an alternative or reserve headquarters of the City Council during the Second World War. I've often wondered where that was and maybe wondered if it was under the concrete stand.
To be honest with you, I'm not absolutely sure. During the Second World War, a lot of cricket was played there, services cricket and recreational and fundraising cricket for the war effort. There were, and indeed there were certainly plans to evacuate from the city centre the administrative workings of the city if necessary, and the ground was deemed to be an important place or a safe place to do that at. I would have thought that the Woolly Stand would have been a fairly likely candidate for that, but I don't even know whether they ever did do that. They probably didn't actually have to put that into action anyway.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Do we have any more questions? We do. If another stand was built, who do you think it will be named after?
We've had a lot of discussions about this, about because lots of clubs now have done all sorts of things, and we decided that when we were looking to name the gates, we decided against the Billings Gate as being a bad example. And at one stage, we're looking at the fact that in Lancashire, for example, there is a Jimmy Anderson end and a Brian Statham end, and we looked at whether we could name the two ends rather than the Pavilion end and the Nackington Road end, but we ruled out the Arthur Fagg end as being a bad idea. We have also been trying to name different rooms in the aim stand, the pieces in the aim stand after different players. There's a certain amount of opposition to that because sponsorship, companies who have paid to have the box want the box to be named after the companies. So it's a very difficult thing. But if I were wanting to name a stand now, I would be looking at Mike Denness and Brian Luckhurst, or Doug Wright, Godfrey Evans. They would be my sort of top ones that I think should be commemorated on the ground.
Well, there's no shortage of talent, is there, as you've shown us? So you're sport for choice for great players.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you. Thanks very much, says Martin. Is the future of the ground secure?
That is the $1 million question. In terms of the ownership, yes, it is. The club is not going to sell it, but is the club secure? Is county cricket secure? That's a completely different subject and a very difficult one to be confident about. I personally have days when I doubt whether the county championship will last for any great length of time, and that would mean that counties like Kent and Worcestershire and Derbyshire and Leicestershire and all these would just disappear in some way. So, and in which case, if Kent County Cricket Club didn't exist anymore, then the ground would be sold off for multi-story car parks or whatever. But as long as there is a county cricket club, yes, the ground is secure.
Thank you. That is good to know. Thank you, sir. And we have one final question. Doreen says, in 1881, the Illustrated London News reported a match in which a Kent 12 beat an All England 12. When did 11 become the normal number?
Well, 11 was the normal number from quite a way back, but there were games against odds, as they used to call it, quite often. 12s were occasionally used, and 12 against 12. Quite often it was 11 against 12, or in charity games or sort of fundraising games, it might be 11 against 22, and you would have 11 professional players against 22 of the locals. So matches against odds were always were often played, but in terms of the county championship, it's always been 11 against 11, and if it isn't 11 against 11, it doesn't count as a first-class game these days. Although certainly at least one or two of W.G. Gracie's hundreds were hit in matches where there were more than 11 players.
Thank you very much. Well, you've had some great questions thrown at you there, sir, and I'd just like to end with one that I'd like to ask you. Can you put it back to the slide of the other grounds in Kent?
Yep. Hold on a moment.
I was debating whether to ask you.
I now have to go right way up. Hold on.
But if you look at the top of that plan of Kent showing the other places that the club has played at, yes, that one.
Yeah.
Can't help but notice that the shield seems to be blue, whereas in Kent it's usually red.
Yes.
Is there a reason why it's blue that you know of?
Well, firstly, you should ask the supporters club, who were the people who actually paid for this and put it up. And it was largely well, I don't know who was particularly behind it, but I know that Peter Francis would be the person who would be able to answer particularly. But I think blue has always been an alternate colour for Kent, and I think it just looked better. Is the answer to that. But I don't know specifically who chose that it should be blue on that there, because I wasn't involved in the creation of that particular thing. It was the Kent County Cricket Supporters Club who were very kindly donated that to the club.
Thank you, sir, and very nice it is too. Thank you. Do we have any more questions for our speaker? No? Everyone seems to be very happy. Well, sir, thank you very much once again for coming to speak to Chaz. And I'd just like to say again that if we've had any guests at the talk, and I hope that you've enjoyed it, and you would like to become a member of the society or perhaps of the Kent Cricket Heritage Trust, then we have some links for you on the slide. If so, if you'd be good enough just to put the last slide up for us. Say all the Chaz talks are free to members, and we have another one coming up in February the 14th, which is of course Valentine's Day. So if you're one of those people who won't have anything better to do, I'm sure I will see you there. We have Dr. Andrew Richardson speaking to us on the Lossenham project, which is landscape and archaeology in the wheel. So I hope that we'll be seeing as many of you for that talk as possible. So thanks very much to our speaker for talking to us this evening. You're getting some thumbs up, sir, virtually, and a round of applause there. So I think everyone's enjoyed the talk. Thank you very much indeed. And thank you everyone for supporting Chaz once again. So we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you, sir. Good night all.
Good night.